Hey YouTube friends, Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. In the sand, like you see behind me here, in the sand versus the gravel or coral, crushed coral substrate like you see in the tank here behind me, in the recent video, there were some great comments made, and I want to just share them with you right now and get your thoughts on some of these comments because they were pretty good. I thought I learned a bit actually in reading those comments, as I often do. Let me get your take on them as well. A comment made by Moto Stacker that you can see here actually got me thinking, and you know, it's the tight packed sand which allows the power heads to sweep waste off the top of it. Has its advantages, but it does overstress the filtration system because it's moving items into the intakes of the filters. And so what's that doing is, of course, it's going to tax or use the filters by a greater amount. And that's going to mean more maintenance for your filtration system. Now, as opposed to, as mentioned in the comment by Motostacker, if you just simply are vacuuming and removing detritus, that's detritus and waste that is not going into your filters. And so what that means is that you're going to be able to space out filter maintenance a bit more if you have a substrate that is not as tightly packed, but instead more like the coral, the crushed coral, or a gravel substrate, like you see in the 60-gallon here. What you see is a crushed coral substrate that has a lot of space between the between the pieces, and allows the gunk to sort of anchor in there and then be removed by a siphon system. So you're removing the gunk entirely from the sort of the ecosystem of your tank. You're removing it out along with your water changes and putting fresh water in. And so there is that advantage. And I think that if you have a tightly packed sand substrate that doesn't allow you to be removing the gunk through siphoning, like you see here, you're going to have to get into those filters on a more regular basis. So with this kind of a system, I'm going to have to crack this FX6 perhaps every couple of months, as opposed to perhaps being able to go 4 to 6 months like I'd be able to do in this kind of a system where I'm siphoning a lot of the junk out, as opposed to having it go into the two Sun 302Bs that I have running here, and of course the Marineland bio wheels. So instead of having the gunk pumped into those filters by directed power heads, instead, especially when you consider that I have pre-filters on those 302s, I can probably go closer to 6 months. So what do you think? Do you think a coarser substrate like this one here, gravel, crushed coral, or do you think sand like the one I have in this tank right here? What are your thoughts? If I was to start another tank right now, what kind of substrate would you recommend? If you were starting a tank right now, what would you put in it? What would be your substrate choice? Let me hear you below in the comments, and thank you so much for tuning in. That's it for me.